So, Ollie, welcome.
Oh, well done. Congratulations to both of you. I can't believe you both done it. I was absolutely sure I was going to tune in, and one of you was going to be on the floor, and the other one was going to be asleep.
Can I just ask which one?
Well, I figured, Dawn, you'd be asleep on the bar.
And Mitch would be on the floor.
Yeah, experience hopefully that's where I end up. Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely amazing, guys. You've done an amazing job. It's been incredible. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well,
you're looking very fresh, by the way.
You're looking very fresh. Did you have a haircut? What's going on?
Yeah, well, you know, I was told yesterday I had to dress for a funeral, so about midnight the day before, I think. So no, rubbish. Got to look smart for something. Not normally my way, as you both know. Much happier just hiding in my house.
I think everyone was pretty shocked when we turned up not in tiki shirts at the start of this. So it's,
which we've now redressed.
Yeah, we're into the celebration phase of the 24 hours. So we're looking to the future.
I'm pretty fresh because Mitch, your punch worked very well. Yeah, it's fair to say.
Oh, yes?
Mitch sent me a recipe for rum punch for all my neighbours for last night because obviously we had to do something. Turned out most of my neighbours were drinking gin. Managed to convince about half of them to switch. End result was there was a lot of punch for me to drink. I did my best.
Are you on?
Are you on a 24 hours here? He's far too fresh. I know what Ollie looks like after a hangover.
Yeah, no, I'm not hungover, that's for sure. No, having as I think I said yesterday, having a 3.5-year-old is pretty much the same as doing a 24-hour session, just non-stop. He was awake. He was awake pretty much through most of your session last night. He decided he was not going to sleep. And geez, I've got to tune.
I'm surprised we didn't send him to sleep. You should just put it as a lullaby.
He did watch sometimes, and he is incredibly honest. So most times I put on, we watched Rum Club. I think I told you this, Rich. We watched Rum Club with, I think it was watching Tinder, and he walked in the office and he said, "Daddy, that's boring. Turn it off." And I walked out. I was like, "I will be coming on to Tinder that later." They didn't do that.
Yeah. What was his feedback on?
He wanted to know why he couldn't talk to you. That was his only real concern. Why couldn't he get involved? That was yesterday dinner.
As a win. And he wanted to talk to us was a bonus.
We'll get Dave to give him a call afterwards. So
I'm impressed. Dave was just planning as well. How's little Dave? Is little Dave?
Little Dave's in the middle of all the drinks.
Amongst the rums.
You need to bring a smaller one so you can put him in your pocket and take him everywhere you go.
Hold on, social bubble.
Let's welcome you to our social bubble, Ollie, because if there's one person
that should be in our social bubble.
One person who's taught us a lot about social distancing this lockdown is Ollie. So welcome to our social bubble.
So just to make everyone aware that Mitch and I got told off on various occasions for breaking social distancing.
This was our excuse to get around it. So.
Mitch, you haven't used the clapper.
Oh, we got the clacker board and everything. Yeah, here we go. I don't know. Welcome to your session, Ollie. Let's talk about some rum. So, I guess where to start? Hold on, let me pull up the questions first. We actually planned this. So, looking at the origins of Black Tot. So, the 31st of July, as we pointed out yesterday, is not just the 50th anniversary of Black Tot Day, but it's also the 10th anniversary of the launch of the Black Tot brand, with the last consignment being released for the 40th anniversary. Now, what were the steps and what were the challenges in terms of moving forward from there? Like, you've got the Navy rum, you've literally put the flagons in a bottle, Where do you go from there?
Well, so I moved over to this side in about 2013, so about 3 years later. And even before that, when I was working in the shop, because I started off in the whiskey exchange shop, and obviously we were selling last consignment. Last consignment was a great thing to sell if you had somebody who was willing to give you the time to explain it. But it was incredibly hard work when they wanted to taste it, because obviously you couldn't just crack open 600-pound bottles of rum every day. Well, obviously, Mitch, we do now, but it's a slightly different. But back then, it was definitely not something we were encouraged to do. I remember we had like a 20 cl. It was the same bottle, Dawn. You know, you got yours on HMS. I think it was a 20 cl they gave out. Was it 20 or a 5? I believe it was a 20.
Okay, so maybe I got an illegal bottle because I have a full one.
Oh, nice. Well done. Yeah. I did not get that. We did not get that treatment. But we used to have a 20 cl that basically, if you thought you had a customer who was really interested, you'd give them a well, it wasn't a full top, that's for sure. A small sample. Mainly because we were so scared of running out of liquid, not being able to drink it ourselves. I believe the shop's changed a bit under your management, Dawn. Back then, we used to drink quite a lot. Now,
for once, that's different.
Certainly that when I came over in 2013, that was one of the biggest challenges, because unless you had like individuals in shops or bars able to give essentially 25 minutes, half an hour to explain the story, and the story is amazing, it was really difficult to sell. Like there wasn't a queue of people going around saying, I want to buy 600-700 pound rum. Also, bear in mind, a decade ago, there was no premium rum, right? There was premium rum in the sense that rums were going up to 40, 50 pounds, but hundreds of pounds, nobody was doing that. In some ways, I think it was kind of insanity. It was a very Sickinder insanity. You know, when you find something like that, even if it's going to cost you a fortune, you bottle it. And he goes, because if it takes you, I think at the time he said a decade to sell it, at least you still got it, right? So at least you can still go back to it. At least you can still enjoy it, and you're never going to get it again. I'm hoping I've still got another decade, so because we've still got quite a few flagons, and now we've started, proper brand building. We should probably actually take some time over selling the really special stuff we've got. When we sat down to talk about Black Tot, originally I was just told, go out and talk about it. Because in 2013, 2014, Elixir Distillers was still a hobby. Essentially, it was Sickinder's hobby, which he did on the side of all his other businesses. And when I came in, my job was buying all the glass and the packaging, buying the casks, organising the bottlings and the blending, and then contacting all the distributors, and then where appropriate, going out and standing at shows, which is basically end to end. I can't think I've missed anything. And the funny thing was, Black Tot, although I was told to go and talk about it, I wasn't given a massive budget to go and pour rum. And that went on for quite a few years, and there was lots of questions of, why do we only really sell lots in America? Which we did. We sold pallets to the US for some reason. Which seemed to all turn up on Alibaba, and how do we change that? Probably as much as 3 or 4 years ago, we started talking about doing kind of a standard rum that we could introduce the story with. So having something on shelf at a price where we could open bottles and we could share it with people, and people could also buy a bottle without worrying about the fact they've probably spent their mortgage payment on a bottle of rum. And I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, we obviously didn't do anything about it. As Dawn very well knows, and Mitch, you're probably learning, procrastination is the name of the game. We come from at the end of the day, we're at our heart, we're a Scotch whisky company. There's anything true in Scotch whisky if you don't do anything fast. It's all about spending a bit of time thinking about what you're going to do, letting everything get older, letting everything be worth more money, and then doing it eventually. So yeah, we had about.
But Ollie, did you not hear my pronouncement earlier that we were becoming the rum exchange because we were moving a bit faster than the whiskey exchange?
Yeah, almost certainly, Dylan. I can imagine that. That's I'm separating out, obviously, so running for the hills. Although my best-selling product now is Black Tot. So technically, I guess we're becoming a rum company. It's a bit frightening.
Do you say we're the best-selling product now?
We're this month. Yeah, absolutely, flying, doing very well.
Amazing. Great. Wow.
So it's a lot of years of sitting around and not really knowing what we were going to do, and then I think it was about 2 years ago we were in the bar that you guys are sitting in, and I'd finally got Sukhinder and said, "Look, we need to do something," and he said, "I've got an idea."
Which
and,
is a statement from Sukhinder.
Yeah, I mean,
how many times have we heard that?
Exactly. I mean, I'm known by the girls at Cocktail Week as Eeyore, because I think my reaction to Sukhinder's ideas were quite often just a big kind of huff and puff and
whereas I take a very different approach. The word no is probably my.
I mean, I've found in my experience that his ideas tend to work out for the best, certainly for me. But I mean, I'm just the right place, right time a lot of the time. And his whole thing was, look, let's make a rum, but if we're going to do it, I don't want to I don't want to try and replicate Last Consignment. He goes, one, we can't do it. It's not possible. We don't have the access to stock that the Navy had. We're not going to go out and buy the kind of stock they were buying, mainly because I think you've probably had this on before. When the Royal Navy were producing rum, if you were to take that liquid that they were producing at the time and bottle it up and sell it today, it'd be the biggest rum brand by quite a way. I mean, they were consuming a lot of rum, so their access was insane. And then you got the fact they had these big open top wooden vats, which I think I said yesterday is just it's pure insanity from a commercial point of view. There's just no way that you could handle that kind of loss. And also health and safety has changed a little since certainly 1970. And I think we probably get HMRC on us pretty quickly going, you can't have open top vats of rum for people to fall into now.
HMRC or Jane?
Jane, yeah, almost certainly Jane. Well, we've certainly not had that conversation yet. Largely, compliance hate me. Everything I do is just a big hole and nightmare, I think. So all of that led us to, we had to do something different. And Sukhinder kept saying, I want a rum for today. I want something that people are going to drink every day. And actually, originally he said he wanted a fun rum. All rum's fun. That's absolutely true. I think you two have proven that in abundance in the last 24 hours. And he said, I want a fun rum. And I went off to try and make this rum. He also said that he wanted it to be great for mixing, but great for sipping on its own. Talk about your mother of all breathes, but no flavor. There was no kind of flavor definition. There was no, I want it to taste like this.
And he needed to appeal to rum lovers and whiskey lovers.
Oh, yeah.
As well.
And whiskey and all the rest. And your neighbour down the road who drinks pink gin, and you name it. And we sat down. We tried most of the rums that are behind you. We both wrote down chat about what we thought, what was great about them, what was missing from a point of view of, certainly from our whiskey drinkers' point of view. The thing I found really interesting is when you get into the kind of geeky limited edition stuff, there's tons of flavor. It's really interesting, but a lot of the mainstay stuff is exactly that. It's fun rum. It's enjoyable to drink. There are a few exceptions who make, I think, incredibly complex spirits. But in the main, a lot of the standard stuff was pretty straightforward, kind of one-dimensional flavors. And again, that takes you back to blending, because some of the distilleries like Foursquare, who are blending together different still combinations and different wood combinations, and really going into the depths of what you can do with wood, they're creating a lot of flavor. So I think there's a lot there in rum, but a lot of it has only been kind of publicly, from what I can see, it's been kind of publicly pushed, and particularly by companies like the Whiskey Exchange and other retailers like Master Malt, but particularly you've done an amazing job. That side of kind of more interesting flavors of rum is quite premium. It's quite geeky, and it's not in the mainstay. Whereas I guess from a whiskey point of view, I do find we've got nowadays a lot of standard whiskies, and mainly because there were a lot of malt whiskies through the 90s that were very, very cheap, that do have that kind of that width of character. Even Johnny Walker Black Label, which is as standard as you get, is an incredibly complex whiskey, and it's because of that blending tradition. So we knew we were going to have to go down the route of blending. We knew that fitted in with what the Navy did. The only flavour thing that I really wanted was that Demerara kick, that licorice, because when you drink Last Consignment, for me, it's all about the tobacco and the licorice and the depth you get from that. So when we turned up at Skier, that was the first thing. He was like, what do you want it to taste like? I'm like, well, I can't really give you this brief. I can't give you Sekinda's brief of, well, I want everyone to like it. And I want it to mix well.
Why not, Ollie? It's a perfectly reasonable brief.
I think Carsten would have looked at me like I was mental. So I want to stick to some Navy traditions. I want that licorice flavour, but we need it to be softened. We want it to be sweeter. We want it to have more fruit. You guys were talking about Longmorn earlier and old whiskies. I love deeply fruity whiskies, and I love that in rum. And that kind of drove us down a particular avenue, particularly with the use of Barbados rum and working with Carsten to understand those components. I think the thing that Carsten really didn't know that he was getting into was our interesting blending techniques of reblending everything he'd send to us, sending it back. Yeah, try that, make that. Which then took 2 years. 2 years of
throw people a little bit.
Yeah. We delve into that process, Ollie, because I think that's one of the most fascinating parts of the story. Because obviously, so many rum companies obviously work with Skier, but this seems quite a unique operation that you've set up.
It's called Sekinda. I don't think it's unique.
Yeah.
It's called
It comes from it definitely comes from that you being a drinker, not a maker. Does that make sense? So I know what I like. Sekinda knows what he likes, and then we just try and figure out how to do it. And we also, whenever we've dealt with whiskey, we've always dealt with cask stock. So although we buy bulk, everything's in wood. So you're dealing with individual components. With Carsten, it's very different because you're essentially you're giving him a brief, he's putting something together, sending it back to you. But then Sekinda and I wanted to understand what was going into it. And the first thing we tried to do is he would send you like 3-4 samples at a time. We'd try them, and then we'd like, well, we like that from that. We like that from that, so we'll put them together. And then I'd mess around with ratios until we were happy, and we'd say, right, we've put blend 1, 2, and 3 together, and we've done these orders. Could you tell us what that would be? And I think after I did that for the 5th time, given I'd been over to see Carsten once already, it was just like, you just need to come here because this is getting unreasonable. He said, I can't unblend all my blends and reblend them. And Sekinda said,
yes, you can.
yeah. He's like, why not? I mean, it seemed fine to me. And we went over to see Carsten again, and we just got all the components out. And I think the most interesting thing for me was we were pretty naive, right? I was very naive, as I don't come from that rum background, so all of the ideas of what makes, like, if you ask me what makes a particular single malt interesting, I can tell you about the full production history, and I understand that. In rum, I was purely looking at what it tastes like in the glass. So one of the component parts we ended up using, we both love. Not on its own, but as a component. I mean, on its own, it's pretty shaky stuff. but it's such a full-on flavor. And essentially, it's a new make with with colouring in it. They use basically molasses. It's thick, heavy molasses in it. And I had no idea that would be a kind of touchy subject until after I'd put it in, made it, and then we sat down for the labelling, and someone said, "What do we say about colouring?" I was like, "Well, it's got molasses in it." You can't do that. I thought, yeah, but it tastes nice. So, and I kind of think that in a way that naivety led us to make something. I think I love it, obviously, but I think it certainly has led to us making something a bit different. The process going back and forth with Carsten was certainly interesting, and the other thing I think I learned from that was the big blenders, what they do is they can blend to a brief, like a flavor brief, which often comes from a marketing department. Something I learned is I don't think I do that at all. I don't think I'm talented enough to do that, to be fair. What happened with us
Thank God that you don't work to a marketing brief, otherwise we'd be fucked.
Yeah. What happened with us was that one of the briefs I said was to be fun and kind of frivolous. One, the rum became more expensive because the stuff we were using. I couldn't use cheaper stuff because I just thought it tasted rubbish. So that was the first thing that went. Price point disappeared. Also, I want it to be £25. Not going to happen. And then I remember doing the launch, and one of the people I'd worked with quite a lot over it was John Lister, who works for Specialty Brands. He also does rum ambassador work for Diplomatico, and he does a lot of the cocktail stuff for Specialty Brands, who's our UK distribution partner. And I worked a lot with him to give him the rum and say, look, help me understand how can this be mixed, how can it work? So he saw it all the way through. And when we got to the launch day, I went to speak to him at an event afterwards. And I said, what do you think of it? And he goes, you've made a really good rum. You've made a great rum. It's not what you set out to make, but it's a perfect representation of you. I think that's probably true. It's not fun.
Means it tastes like whiskey.
It's probably quite grumpy. It's quite an Eeyore rum from time to time. I mean, all rum is underlying fun. It's great fun to drink. But it's probably a bit more serious than maybe we set out to do because there's more flavors involved. And that's basically a representation of the fact that I'm probably more serious than I need to be. And it's probably a representation of what we enjoy drinking. When it comes down to what we enjoy drinking. And I really do hope it does cross those borders and bring whiskey people into what is an amazing growing category. Show them the layers of flavor. It's an opening gambit. It's not a finished project. We're always working, we're always reblending, we're always looking at what we can do. And it's also, as you guys have done with this, I'm hoping it's holistic. I hope that it gets people into a category so they go, oh, well, it's got this particular blend has got these three different islands involved. What are those rums like individually? And then they'll go off and they'll try Eldorado, and they'll try Foursquare, and they'll try, Worthy Park or Hampden, and they'll go and discover those rums, and they'll discover those different flavors, and they'll discover a category. Because those people who discover a category, they'll be with you forever. They'll be obsessed forever. And I really hope we can be part of that. That's for me what's really important. Well, that got very moralistic, didn't it? Ooh.
that was a beautiful sentiment, Ollie, and something I never thought you'd utter about rum.
Don't tell the whiskey people, Dawn. Don't tell them.
Can I just say, Mark Watt has been up half the night with us. Mark Watt gets the most massive shout out because he stayed up late.
Yeah.
Late. He was amazing. I kept on seeing comments from him. I was like, come on.
Well, you don't. Belgian beer.
Yeah, probably.
Mark's a great example, though, because he's been doing rum. Well, Cadenhead's, where he used to work, was in many ways the first independent rum bottler. So a lot of people, when they talk about independent bottling in whiskey, they'll say the first bottlers were Cadenheads of Aberdeen, G&M up in Elgin, and then Berries in London. But Cadenheads was actually bottling rum first. Right? They were bottling rum in Aberdeen before they did whiskey. And Mark brought back that tradition largely. I mean, they always had kind of a rum brand, but he started buying up casks and bottling them under their single cask label. I learned quite a lot from just some of the rums they bottled, and even their standard rum's very good. It's actually a really good drinking rum. I'm looking forward to his next project. He's got whiskey, but I know he's probably bought rum already.
Yes. No, he has. I know. We talked about it. I'm super excited. So my shipment's coming soon, hopefully.
Grand. Yeah, so I think that's where we got to with Finest Caribbean. I lose track. I talk too much. Probably relief for you, though.
It's a lovely comment from Henry saying today has helped with interest in different distilleries, and you know, for that, I know you and I talked about this right at the start when, you know, this was just a vague idea of having a 24-hour rum festival. But you know, one thing that was important to us both, I think, was, you know, it didn't. Not just going, oh, this has to be a Black Tot thing, but actually going, no, let's bring all the rums together, because weird. I've always found that a weird thing in any spirits world or ambassador thing or whatever. It's like, oh, you know, I only drink this rum or I only drink this or whatever. It's like, well, then why would I listen to you if you only drink your brand? How would you be an expert? You know, you're an expert because you've drunk all of the whiskies and all of the rums, you know, and that's what makes you you know, someone worth talking to about it. And I think, you know, being able to speak to everyone, bring them all together, talk about all these rums is kind of the key to it all, you know. So never trust anyone, an ambassador or any person who works for a drinks company who doesn't drink other people's stuff. They clearly don't like drink.
100%, and don't trust anyone that only drinks their own product, whether they're making it, buying it, whatever. You know, 100%. You've got to try as much as you can to improve your palate. You know, never stop learning.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely. The
person that tells you they know everything is a fucking fool.
You know, in
oh, shit.
And that kind of I think that's kind of where that whiskey side comes from. I remember like 15 years ago, well, more than that now, sadly, starting out in whiskey shops. And the thing that always got me was you'd go to a festival, and I remember starting at kind of York Whiskey Festival, and everyone was pals, everyone's friends, and they all drink together because, well, largely what I found out later is when you're on the road doing it, that's your family. That's the only people you see. So you're always drinking someone else's stuff, and you're always sharing. The Scotch whiskey industry is quite lucky because although it's a big category, it's very small, and they've been forced to share product for 200 years. So everybody has to, you know, to create the big blend names, they all have to trade, they all have to communicate, and that seems to kind of go through the whole category. I think rum also has that. When you speak to people like Carsten, you do learn. You know, he's close to every single producer, and getting to know Luca a bit more and understand that side, you start to see that amazing community. And then, you know, there was that fantastic night last year at in Berlin, Dawn. I don't know if you remember that. All of it.
Well, I was on the night before.
Right, you left it. Yeah.
I'd gone to Whiskey Live Paris, and I'd had 3 nights at Whiskey Live Paris going. I don't think I slept basically for 72 hours. And we were talking to Ian Griffiths, and I said to him the last time I saw him, I almost missed my flight because I looked at my watch and I was like, oh, I should get my flight now. And you guys came in the morning after.
That's right.
So I missed that one.
Yeah, well, I think the nice thing for me out of that was Daniele, who has an aversion to sugar. Oh
no, apparently he likes pussers and pizza. Oh no, Pampera and pizza.
Pampera pizza.
Find out.
We ended up all going to the Diplo after party because obviously Sukhinder's quite close to the family, and in the end, we for one reason or another I won't go into, we left the after party. And
I thought you got chucked out, actually.
Yeah, we may have got chucked out. And Junior left with us, and we ended up having the weirdest night. But it was really nice to have essentially two completely different views on rum, two completely different, essentially, families of rum. But everyone had a great time. Everyone had fun, and that's really what it's about. So, that's
you had Christelle, Danny, Jose, Junior, Sukhinder, and you. Is that correct?
Yeah, and a couple of other people as well. I don't really want to go into because it all got a bit weird.
Don't worry, I know what happened.
Like your 24-hour session now. Only there was more stripping. So,
Danny, don't worry. I got messages throughout the night.
Yeah. But yeah, that was anyway. Slightly off topic, but still, we got
We've got time.
Yeah.
We got another 24 if you want.
I don't think I can survive another 24.
Morning, Sukhinder.
Sukhinder's back in the game.
So now he's here. I can tell you, he got chucked out that after party, cheeky bastard.
And it's just so you know, it's not the first time Sukhinder's got chucked out from a bar.
I think that was my favourite moment yesterday when you were like, when someone suggested that Sukhinder maybe did he really drink? It's like, oh dear. I don't get told off by my wife as much as I used to, but still.
I get told off still a lot.
Yeah. Living far away, Dawn, that's the trick. And that way you can't, well, to be fair, still arrive in a taxi at 4 a.m, but not as often as I used to.
We're blaming you for our bad ways.
Absolutely. All the good and all the bad. Grand. So, yeah, rum. Probably talk about the product again.
So anyway,
now,
to purchase one of the empty Black Tot flagons, you just have to woo Ollie, basically.
We do have quite a few of them, not surprisingly. I don't think we've ever priced them up. I used to give them off to the importers to show at events and stuff. So there are some floating around. We did very briefly, because Mitch wanted us to, talk about filling them for today, because originally we were going to have a big party around the world, and we were going to fill up the flagons with Finest Caribbean and send it out and say, right, let's do a whole new tot. But then we discovered just how filthy they are inside, and the cleaning was just not. It was not going to happen.
Yeah, it was when Mitch came to me and he goes, "Can you buy me some beer line cleaner?" I was like, "What the fuck do you want beer line cleaner for?" He's like, "I want to clean some flagons." I was like, "Find it yourself, man."
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, so when we've just, which we're going to talk about in a minute, we've just technically bottled up some flagons, and it was one of the phone calls I got was, we are going to have to filter this a lot. There's a lot of stuff in this, so it kind of came out an interesting color. Definitely black, black top, but it was because it was so full of gunk from sitting in a stone flagon for so long. Or like John said yesterday, wood probably from casks sitting in the bottom.
Yeah, like splinters from the wood. And, what was interesting is when John talked about it, he said it was coming from the actual, like the churning up of the grog and mixing the water in, because they were using that wooden tub, and that would sort of, you'd have these jugs, which they'd be, mixing together all the rum with, and this would be scraping the inside of the barrel. So he said the wood was coming from that. But if that wood is already in the flagons, then that suggests it's coming from earlier on in the process somewhere, maybe from the wooden vats or somewhere else. So that's...
I mean, I imagine they were just emptying straight into the vats without filtration. And any time you bottle any cask of anything, you get a lot of wood. In fact, you get a lot of interesting things. Someone's got a spider in a sample. So you'll be amazed what you get, really. Still drank it.
So protein, Ollie.
Pardon?
Bit of protein.
Yeah, absolutely. I need protein. I'm running every day now, Dawn, so, got to get the spiders in.
Good man.
Not very far. Don't get too excited.
It's okay. It's okay. It's baby steps.
Just to the local pub, have a pint, come back again. Very healthy.
Okay, not so good. So I'm the food Nazi in the office. I'm like, you must eat healthy. And drinking is by the side. I mean, that's just a minor technicality. But food and exercise is probably what I harass most of the staff about.
I like Willy Wang. I like the Atari gummy bits. I agree.
Is that like Billy's version of a Haribo?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's the kind of sugar you need to keep you going.
So, Ollie, I guess we again talk a little bit about the rum. I guess one of the things that I loved when I was speaking to Chanel after she did some of the whiskey trainings with you, and you have a certain cask selection tasting rate both before and after a sandwich, which I think is worth sharing with the world. What's your barrel rate per?
Oh yeah,
90 minutes.
I worked out quite a while ago that it was significantly cheaper to fly to Scotland and try casks than it was to get samples sent to us, because they charge you a lot of money for that. And I'm cheap by nature, so if I can save a penny, I will. And the thing I discovered was that when you're doing a vatting, so if you're making when we do Finest Caribbean, we produce around 15,000 to 20,000 bottles at a time. Roughly speaking, that's about 50 casks of rum. Now with Finest Caribbean, it's slightly different because it comes in vats and then gets blended. When we do whiskey, we bring the casks in, and actually with the 50th anniversary, that's exactly what we've done. So when you're doing that kind of operation, it's much easier to go to the bottling hall and check all the casks, so open them all up and try them before they get dumped. And you can do that. You can do about 50 casks in an hour and a half without falling over, pretty comfortably. And it's not that you're sitting there and writing tasting notes. I mean, Dawn, when you do it and you write your amazing tasting notes, I'm not sure I could do that. Certainly 50 casks, my notes would be very interesting. My spelling and grammar are the best times. You can do about 50 casks in an hour and a half.
Spelling and grammar.
Yeah. And then I always reckon that you can do that. You can do that ratio twice in a day. So you head up. I normally head up to Scotland because all our bottling takes place in Scotland. It says that on our label. Has got us into some trouble with the press apparently. They became obsessed with Scottish rum. And you can do that basically twice a day. So you go up, do 50 casks all happens before about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So you do 50 casks when you get there about 10, have lunch, stop, another 50 casks, bish bash bosh, put in the vat, take out anything that's amazing, put that to one side to bottle later, and anything that's absolutely terrible, which is very rare but does happen, you take out and you sell to someone you don't like. And then that's it, you're done. It's great, it's really easy. Anything you can do to make your job easier. Work clever, not hard. That's always my motto. And yeah, try not to fall over because it's on concrete floors. And that hurts. Are you guys still drinking, by the way?
Oh yeah, we've been very balanced actually throughout the night. We've balanced the sugarcane and champagne to actually perfect plateau of beautifulness. I think
we're on the Dom Perignon and Coroni 23 pairing at the moment.
Because why would you not be? We figured we made it this far, we deserved a treat. And it's been just the right balance of sugar to alcohol ratio to kind of keep us going, with a bit of pizza and some Haribos and a couple of bananas thrown in, and about 10 coffees and
a lot of coffee.
Yeah. Billy keeps on just putting coffees through the door at this point. In the beginning he just left us to it. Now he's just seeing us flag and he's like, bring them coffee, and these 2 coffees just appear. We're like,
if it's Billy's hand grinding every one of those beans for you, it'll be good coffee.
No, so Billy the other day gave us, what was it? Billy will have to tell us because I can't remember. It was this really funky ass coffee that had been like some kind of freaky yeasty thing, which was just bizarre. So I love Billy's coffee selections because they're normally really random, which is fantastic because you need that in your life, a bit of randomness. Fermented with beer yeast. Thank you very much, Billy. Of course they were.
Standard. So, Ollie, what have been some of the rums that have impressed you over the years? What are the ones that stand out for you? Because, obviously coming from the whiskey world, you no doubt have a load of favorites, but what in the rum world grabs your attention?
So, I mean, I'm still very much learning. I would never ever claim to be a rum expert. I don't think I ever will be. I don't think I claim to be a whiskey expert either, to be honest. I think at the end of the day, until you get to the ripe old age of 60-something, 70-something, I've done this your entire life.
I thought you were about to say the ripe old age of Sekinda for a second there.
To be honest, Dawn, I stopped before I said 50 because I thought, Sekinda won't like that. But, until you've worked in it in your entire life, and Sekinda's a good example, he's worked with spirits literally his entire life. He's at a point in his life, his career, that he has tried most things of note, and he can give you his opinion. I'm relatively young. In terms of what I've tried recently, I do love a lot of the Foursquare rums for the kind of honey sweet, the fun that you find in them. And we are very lucky, obviously, in the office because I get to steal from Whiskey Exchange, so I get to try all Dawn stuff. I think and that for me appeals because it's very easy to drink, and sometimes you just need something that's very easy to drink. Hampden recently has become something I've been drinking more and more, and I've found, even during the blending process, I found Jamaican rum as a flavor component amazing. I think it's something to work with highest rum, and is insane because it adds a pop of something. It adds so much fruit so instantly, and then frankly such low quantities. And I've got quite an interesting thing on the 50th anniversary on that as well. But
if you want to add a little bit more Jamaica to Black Tot, you might drive me over the line.
Yeah, I mean you got to be careful with it. But I find the flavors you get from certainly Hampden and Worthy Park in some of the bottlings I've tried recently, they're just so extreme. Now, the difference between that and, say, Foursquare is I wouldn't drink it every day. It's definitely something that you go to, kind of like Caroni. I have a real love-hate relationship with Caroni. We own a few casks, Skin's owned a few casks with Caroni for some time. I've also had the pleasure of trying a lot of Lucas stuff, which is obviously tropically aged. All the stuff we've got is it's continentally aged since I can't remember now, mid-2000s, I guess. And I find that that kind of fuse oil diesel thing, sometimes that's the flavour that I love most, and I liken it to lead check in whiskey, which basically tastes like petrol. Sometimes I just want that. Now, there are other times I try it and I'm just like, it's wrong, it's broken. And I think I actually had that conversation with Dave Broom. I was like, well, is this right? And he's like, no, I'm pretty sure technically it's broken. Technically, as a spirit, this is not supposed to be. And it's probably killing you. But at the same time, it's such an amazing explosion of flavour. So, the Caroni you're drinking now, that kind of flavour, I think, is fascinating, incredibly enjoyable, probably at 7:30 in the morning mixed with champagne. But then other times when it's the middle of the day and you're going through your 15th sample of it, you're just like, no, I can't be doing this. In the same way that I find with Kurosawa, 15 samples into Kurosawa flasks, and I'm actually going, I'm done. I don't care anymore.
Pretty good comparison, actually, Caroni and Kurosawa, because I think sometimes wood dominates on both. And, and actually what we should say is Ollie probably has one of the most amazing palates out there. He is absolutely spot on. I mean, really, really one of my favorite people to taste with, actually, because his palate is really just bam, really
awesome.
amazing. So
I'll send you the money later, Dawn. Thank you. But I don't. I mean, I always think it's funny because you write amazing tasting notes, and I've never really done that. I have a 3-tick system. So you know, my system for choosing is 1 tick. Yes, all right. You could sell it to someone.
I have the 3 to 4 tick system. I can't show you the label on this because it was one of my secret rums from Privateer. But
and actually, it's another thing. Mark, right? So Mark Watt, who's been on with you all the time, he and I used to laugh about this because obviously a large part of my job is still single cask selection. And he said to me once, you know, he got some of the guys who were working with him to select casks, and they spent hours analysing like 3 or 4 casks. So how long would that take you? It's about 15 minutes. You know, you taste it, you go, yes, that's good, it's got everything I want, bottle it. And I guess in a way, I'm very lucky in that I obviously have a palate that agrees with other people. Some people don't. So I don't really think of it as.
You have a good palate.
So you think that's what it is, Dawn? Because we like. Yeah, no, it's I'm very lucky in my job, so I just get to do what I like. So don't feel like I've done anything worthy of praise at this point.
I think that's harsh, Ollie. I do think that's harsh.
Well, the world hasn't had the chance to try your 50th anniversary yet, so
no,
I'm getting a lot of praise, and it hasn't even come out.
Well, it hasn't. It's actually still being vatted. So I've got the bench sample because disappointingly I didn't get the final vat sample, which I was hoping for yesterday, and that's because some of the casks haven't gone in. This has been one of the most interesting projects, given the timeline and everything else. And Mitch, I'm really glad that we got to do quite a bit of it together.
Yeah.
So, because this was very much from working with Carsten, which was all in kind of bulk, and you bring stuff in vats, and we've had a lot of fun on that side. And we had a lot of fun afterwards, looking at what we could do in the future and putting stock down and taking some our individual components. This was much closer to what we do in whiskey, so buying individual casks and then looking at how we could use them. So we went to, we went and we chatted with the rum broker. We also used some bits we already had in stock, and we worked through lots of samples, and then obviously I came up with a variety of recipes. And again, it was a bit of Sukhinder's brief versus mine. We come from we have slightly different ideas on flavour, on some stuff, not on everything. So Sukhinder loves heavier, if you think about whiskey, he loves those kind of big, rich, sherry matured whiskies. I tend to err more towards refill wood, lighter, more spirit-driven drinks. And that's just a slight difference. And my first punt at 50th anniversary is definitely more my way than Sukhinder's way. Probably closer to Finest Caribbean than it is to Last Consignment. And then I've been gradually moving the blend using different component parts. So we got the label. The label that went up from TTB isn't actually correct because we've adjusted the blend since then. Don't worry, they won't notice.
True Elixir style.
Percentage changes. Well, it was a mixture of things. So we always said that we would vat it and we'd taste it and then we'd make adjustments. Because what I've got in my glass is what I put together, and that's put together from cask samples. But when you're blending on a very small scale, it doesn't necessarily come together in exactly the same way on a big scale. There is always a difference and a change. Quite often that's a good change, but sometimes you'll need to make small adjustments after the fact to get to where you want to. And so we had a blend that we loved, we thought was very, very good, and then we knew we would make some adjustments. So the idea was to keep some stock back. When we went to do the vatting, this was a little while ago, a mistake was made at the bottling hall. And actually the Jamaica Dawn, as you said, it's quite pungent. And the Jamaican component we used for this is Hamden. We put that on the label. Cristal and Luca gave us permission to do that. It's similar to, I think, what was being said I think by both Luca and Cristal and possibly during your bottling session as well. you know, when someone feels that you're doing a good job, they'll let you use your name. And we went and asked them, you know, it said very clearly on our paperwork that we couldn't name Hamden. So I said, well, you know, if I ask permission, and they said, well, what have you got? How long has it been in Europe? What are you putting on the label? And I said, well, we're putting everything. So we showed them the label, we shared what we were doing, and they said, fine, you know, if it's going to be a good product, you can put Hamden there. So it's nice to have that confidence from other people within the industry that you're going to do a good job. But one of the problems we had was we never intended to use full casks of Hamden because it was pretty funky, and they accidentally put more in than we had wanted. So when the original VAT sample turned up at the office, I tried it. I was like, something's not right. I gave it to Sekinder, and he's like, is this what you wanted? I'm like, no, I'm going to go look into it. And right, we need to buy some more rum. So in the end, it's like walking. Luck plays its part, because I'm hoping the VAT sample that we next get turns out like my new bench sample, because I think it's better. I think we've ended up in a much better place than we started. And I thought the original blend, Mitch, you tried it. I thought it was very good. The one we've got now, I'm really excited about. I'm excited about the layers of flavour. I think we've managed to integrate very old rum in very small percentages, but it just gives you that slight depth. And using the flagons, the oxygen they've got on them, there's that term OBE, old bottle effect. You get this kind of almost mustiness to it, but I think it gives a character that's incredible. We've used not many flagons. I think we only used 6, and that's given it this slight feel of oxygenation, and added in a flavour again. I love having. So for me, this blend is a great example of layers. It's a great example of what you can do when left to your own devices. And I'm very lucky. I work for a guy who just says, yeah, if you think so, just do it, give it a go. I don't think I can't imagine any other company go, you want to use some 43-year-old rum for any particular reason? I'm like, I think it needs old stuff. And then they go, could we use flagons? Yeah. It's only then you start to think, did we have a price point in mind for this? We should probably look at how much this is costing at some point.
Flavor first, price second.
Absolutely.
Which is the way to do it properly. And, I think I have massive respect for Sekinder for that. It's all about the flavor. And I think, we have a lot of love for him, because at the end of the day, it's quality, quality, quality. And Ollie, I know, whenever we're choosing single casks or whenever we're working on a product, it has to be spot on. And so everything we put out, for me, in terms of anything under our own label or under TWE exclusive, is always absolutely spot on. And I think Sekinder and I have disagreed once on a single cask, and it doesn't happen often, because it's something that we're both very, very proud of. And you're the same with S. He's an inspiration. I don't tell him that often, so if he's still listening, can you just erase that statement? Because I'm the bad girl in the partnership.
It's the same attitude that you're during your independent bottler session, I think, kind of came through a little bit. You're only as good as your last bottling, and as a retailer with the Whiskey Exchange, or as an independent bottler like Elixir Distillers, or as a blender, you're only as good as the last bottle you put out. You put out something bad, people will judge you for it forever. They'll never forgive you. So there's a lot of pressure to make sure your quality is very high, and essentially build trust. Because if you build enough trust, then it makes your future job a lot easier. So we have some really great partners around the world for our whiskey brands, and whether it's in France with La Maison de Whisky, or Germany with Kirsch, and they're doing a wonderful job for us building. Brez and Timmer, who've been amazing with Black Tot Rum. And when you approach them about a rum, and you've always been doing in whiskey, the worry is they're going to say, well, we're not sure you know what you're doing. Well, on the most part, they all went, well, if you guys are doing it, then we know you'll do a good job. And that's reassuring. And again, it makes your job easier. It means you don't have to hard sell everything you do. It means that people who trust you will go and buy what you do just because they know that you're going to do a good job. And that's been drilled into me since day one with Secunda. You always have to make sure what you've done is very good so that your customer will come back to you. This blend's really good, by the way, guys. I'm sorry you can't try it.
Yeah, thanks.
We were very excited
Ollie.
to have some.
I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's the 50th anniversary of Black Tot. And the only people not drinking it after 24 hours is the two people that have been up for 24 hours. Or not quite.
I will make sure.
I mean, I'm pretty sure if you got in your car right now, you would make it, because traffic is super good at this time in the morning because there's no one out because they're all asleep.
I've got to keep. So I've only got that much left, and I have to keep it until the.
That's fine for Mitch and I.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, we're Mitch and I are pretty. We share. Sharing is caring.
We do we potentially have the label for the 50th anniversary that we could share with people?
No. Chanel said no. That's
okay.
a no. Mitch, no.
It's the 50th anniversary.
No, Mitch. Chanel, I have your back. Don't worry.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Mitch.
Go ahead, Don.
Yes. I've got to make up a question. Yes. Ollie. So, do you have any rum heroes, of course, besides Mitch and myself?
Besides Mitch and yourself? I mean, Luca, I think in terms of the way in which he communicates and has communicated and has built the idea of premium rum is a proper inspiration. I find it really odd coming into the rum category, because you look at whiskey and there's layers, obviously in price, but in terms of quality as well. And there's a journey that customers can go on. You can find something essentially very cheap and then move on to something more expensive and older, and it helps move the whole category so that you end up with a point where people think of it being this premium, amazing drink that you want to get into. And I remember my first taste of rum, like a lot of your guests earlier, was when I was 20. Well, actually, it was earlier than that, when I first tasted rum. But the first one I remember and feel bad about was drinking an entire bottle of. Was it Mount Gay? It was something. It wasn't something appalling by any stretch. It was good, but I drank the entire bottle and felt very, very bad the next day. And I remember after that wanting to find out more about rum. And I think not long after I started working at Odd Bins, and I went to look at our shelves, and there wasn't enough to explore. And I think what Luke has done with the rum industry in giving people stuff to explore and helping people explore it, it's incredible. The other person that I think he's just a true gent is John from Bristol Spirits. Because again, he's been doing it forever, bottling rum, and his packaging is very, it's not very fussy, I guess is the best way of putting it, polite way of putting it. But he puts rum in a bottle, and he's a gentleman. And I think that, again, I kind of think that it was something I would love to be. I'm not. But I think someone who can go around just buying rum, putting it in a bottle, and hand selling it, bottle by bottle, for an entire career, that's really impressive. And to do it with so little fuss, that essentially Bristol Spirits have been doing independent bottled rum and talking about rum for decades, and nobody really talks about them as a company. But I bet you anyone who's got into rum at some point has probably come across one of his bottles. And there's something kind of joyous about someone like that.
And I think that's what's exciting about the industry. You discover something new, and people have different people that, oh, look, That'd be the Black Tot anniversary label. The incorrect one. Is that correct?
I'll tell you, hang on. Let me make it bigger. How do I make it bigger? That is the new one.
Ooh.
All right, so here we go. The fully updated.
Yeah, fully updated.
The 45 might have a different
No,
story.
that's the only bit that's not been. That's. I'll have to check that. So yeah, this. But in terms of percentages, this is pretty much where we are, and it's definitely been interesting. Some of the rums definitely didn't behave the way I thought they would, and that's been really fascinating because you definitely have an idea in your head when you start something like this, and you think, "Oh, I'll put this flavor, and this will happen." And then, in terms of rum, even more than whiskey, it doesn't. You know, the compounds do not behave how you think they should. I think of it more like I remember everyone saying it's like cooking, right? And you're throwing stuff into a pot, but it's not. It's like mixing spices. You put a little bit the wrong way of something, and it's all wrong. It's all horribly wrong, and then you've got to start again. And everything acts quite differently. The flavors change quite dramatically, and that for me has been really interesting. The whole aging thing as well, putting that on the label, that was I think it was you, Mitch, who wanted that. The whole where it was aged and when, and it's a nice thing to do to show people how the rum's changed and how it's behaved. And I certainly think the whole aging argument or aging conversation is particularly fascinating in rum. The other thing on this, obviously, we ended up with more rum, or we have ended up with more rum than we had originally thought, which was obviously a massive positive. But then that's allowed us to do something a bit more fun for the future. So we're going to still bottle. We're doing around 5,000 bottles of rum. Yeah, I'm going to tell everyone, Mitch. You knew I was anyway. I'm always bad. I tell everyone they can't tell stuff because it's embarrassing, and then I do it anyway. But I feel like embarrassing myself's okay. So after we managed to screw everything up and then fix it, in classical style, we looked at having extra rum, and there was a thought process. Okay, what do we do? And Mitch had been going on and on about starting.
It's a theme. Going on is a theme.
He just wants us to throw money down the drain like all brand ambassadors do. And
no, why would you think that? He doesn't want to throw money down the drain.
I thought, yeah, with your dom and whatnot. I'm sure it's actually.
I sorted that.
So what we're doing instead is we're taking the leftover rum, we're putting them into refill butts. So the reason for refill is I don't want too much wood interaction, and the reason for butts is again the size, so they're bigger. We don't have enough rum to fill a vat, and we don't have a place to put the vat either. So the casks are much easier for us to handle. And the idea now is that we can put that rum away for 6-8 months, come back, have another look at it, and then use it as the base component for something we're going to do next year. And I have no idea exactly what that is, although it's on my list of jobs to do next week, is to start working up a profile for what we're going to create. And we're going to have essentially a Navy strength blend every year, with the idea that there will always be some of last year's rum used in it, so that we have our kind of continuous blending system. It's not going to be, I'm not looking for consistency, right? We're not doing this for the same reason that that those various blending vats and Solaris systems and Jerez exist. It's not that we're looking for a consistent product. We're just looking to have a lovely story that we can keep going, we can keep showing people the development of rum. So we've got other components sitting down. We're buying up other casks here and there, and then we've also got a lot of our Finest Caribbean stock that we've recast, and some of the individual components we've recast, and we've got stuff in all sorts of wood. So we're going to start looking at that and how we put that together for next year's essentially Navy strength. And then the idea is we'll take about a third of that and we'll put that away and continue our journey.
I'm so excited. It literally feels like we're starting, the Black Tot blend again, and I think being able to, I know we spent hours going back and forth on this label and putting all those details on there and how to display it and how to make this blend transparent for people rather than just a secret recipe. And so far the response has been amazing, and I think the idea that every year that blend then becomes its own component, and you have to know what the components were on the previous blend to then decipher the next, and it will just go on and on and on. It's very cool, very exciting. And our fourth Black Tot bottling release, the first time we've hit Navy strength. We finally got there.
To be fair, the first one would have been Navy strength, but it lost alcohol in flagon, so I don't think that's our fault. It also probably lost alcohol more likely through filtration, because as I said, there's so much crap in it. You have to put it through a fine filter, and you normally lose a bit of ABV, like 0.2, 0.3, which is probably where we lost the ABV on that the first time. So that would have been Navy strength. And then the reason Finest Caribbean wasn't Navy strength was, one, I didn't want it to be very expensive, and I think you guys talked about earlier, duty is a killer. After this, can we do a 24-hour campaign to get rid of duty? That'd be great.
Thanks, Ollie. Volunteering for the 24 hours?
If I thought it would work, I'd probably do it.
I don't remember volunteering for this, just as FYI.
Mitch volunteered you.
Yeah, I know.
There was that aspect, and then in terms of the actual strength we ended up with, that was just purely what do we like drinking at. We tried it at 40%. We tried it at 43. I didn't like the idea of having to chill filter anything. I didn't like the idea of having to reduce the kind of fats and weighty stuff in the blend. I thought that I love texture. I love texture in drinks. Texture is really important. Make stuff enjoyable. So we ended up moving the alcohol up and up and up, and then it was just a case of sitting there with water and diluting to the point at which we were happy. And then the 40-year-old is just the strength that it's at. That's just what it came out at. And the stock we've got now from that cask that we've used in this blend is a lot lower in ABV. I think it's dropped considerably into the kind of low to mid 40s.
Fantastic. I'm very, very excited. And
Mitch has not shut up about this idea for about 2 months. I think I've heard it as much as you have, which is so exciting.
It is a really lovely thing to be part of. I also like the idea that we can change it every year, so that you're always adjusting your rum to people's palates. Because Sekinder's absolutely right in that you got to make a rum for today. You got to make a rum that people want to drink now. It's all very well saying, "Oh well, up until 1970, the Navy enjoyed drinking this." Tastes are changing all the time. Like people's tastes are changing all the time as cultures change and as people come together. So I think your job should as much be about adjusting your blends and adjusting your creation, so that it's not just what you love, but it's what everyone else will enjoy. Now, obviously, you base it around what you enjoy, but what you enjoy changes too. So this will give us the ability to really change things each year and adjust things each year to see where we can push it and take it.
I think Trudianne put it quite nicely. I can't remember exactly the word she used. It was something like evolving, but she really kind of encapsulated when she was saying, we're still holding on to the traditions of Mount Gay. We're just, I think, was it readjusting or something, which I just thought was such a nice way of putting it. You're still keeping what it is, but you're just moving it forward in a way that still respects tradition, but allows you to innovate for the future. And I think that's just, what we should be doing constantly anyway. We've got to move with the times. I think coronavirus has taught us that those that stand still will not survive. Those that move forward and push forward and do new things and challenge themselves are probably the ones that will come out of this much, much better. And that's super exciting to see you guys doing that. And you've got a lot to sell, Mitch, so you better start pushing, boy.
Start putting your orders in the comments.
We'll take names and addresses.
Yeah.
Tech team, are you ready?
Yeah. Pen and paper.
I can already feel Chanel getting annoyed at you. I can already feel the anger. I'm waiting for my phone to buzz.
I think it was a thumbs up. I don't think it was another finger.
I think we've been quite well. I think we're quite well behaved.
We almost haven't gone rogue at all.
No, we haven't. I mean, there's still an hour. We could go really rogue. But hey, there's always time. I've just seen Glassmates will take a. I know where you all live, Glassmates, so don't worry. I've got that noted.
Yeah. Oh, Chris has sent his address, and
don't know if we're data protection and I had to throw that one up, but let's not worry.
Just everyone send him rum, and he'll be happy.
So you guys have been drinking now 24 hours. You guys have been drinking rum now for 24 hours. Have you had any major discoveries in what you've been drinking this evening? Or has it all been all stuff you knew?
I think the major discovery is that we can drink rum and champagne for 24 hours. So this is, tried and tested now, which is...
So, at Sugarcane and Champagne...
It's a regular account.
To be fair, we've been practicing for some time now. As Sugarcane and Champagne, we feel that we're duty bound to fill the world with bubbles and rum, because that's just how we roll.
You did. I take it you did in the same way you did. You did in the same way you did Couch to 5K. So you did like an hour of champagne and rum, and then you moved up to 2 hours of champagne and rum, and 24 hours was the goal. And where it goes next? 48 hours.
I mean, it's not so far wrong, actually. If I really break it down over the last 3 months.
Yeah. Few people have been calling for the 48-hour edition next year. That's the trouble with doing this and it going so far quite well, is that now how do we top it?
And actually, John's just thrown that up. Rum and champagne for 24 hours. What will be the next challenge? Well, there are so many things. We could do champagne for 24 hours with some rum thrown in, kind of like the opposite of what we're doing now. And John's like, when are we doing it again? Tomorrow, John? I'm sure you'd be up for that.
My biggest hope, though, and what I'm really looking forward to is our original plan this year was to essentially do not necessarily this, but actually certainly be out in the bars and for all our team to be out everywhere and having toasts with people. So I'm looking forward to next year where we're able to travel and come and visit you all in person, and as much as possible we'll do this all in real life together. So, or we'll bring everyone together. Maybe we'll just have a big party somewhere.
I like the fact that John's asked if this is a Guinness World Record. We would have liked to have tried for a Guinness World Record, actually, but we were prevented from doing that. Essentially, we did ask. And next year's challenge will be the 998-hour.
We're fairly sure it's an unofficial Guinness World Record. So.
I would love this as a physical show. Mark, I got you all the way on that. We will definitely. So we're actually debating a sugarcane and champagne show. We do have a champagne show, so all we need to do is bolt on a sugarcane show straight after, and I feel we have it.
If anyone's keen,
that's nailed. Exhibitors, call me now.
I feel Mark Watt's already done that show several times. I feel like I was part of it.
To be fair, Mark has pretty much been up with us all night. So, rum spec to Mark. Definitely, he's converting. slowly from the whiskey glitterati to the rum glitterati, which was super exciting. I'm in. Yes. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Well, Mitch.
I think it's time to take it to the last session. Thank you so much for joining us, Ollie. And
Yes.
I'm
I
glad.
will stick around and watch the last session, I think.
Well, you better. Damn.
Let's see this 24 hours through. Thank you so much, Ollie. Thanks for getting up early. We'll see you for the last toast. All right, then. Well, we've got. I think we've got a video to start off with because it is. It's breakfast time, so let's have a little cocktail video to get us in the mood.